Most people who try to learn a language by watching TV give up within the first few weeks, convinced it simply does not work. But researchers at the University of Helsinki discovered that passive exposure to a foreign language through television can accelerate vocabulary acquisition by up to 40% when done correctly. The keyword there is correctly. Because most people are doing it completely wrong, and the difference between the right method and the wrong one is surprisingly small. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly how your brain processes language through visual media, why your current TV watching habits might actually be slowing you down, and the one counterintuitive technique that professional polyglots use that almost nobody in the mainstream language learning community talks about. By the end of this video, you will have a complete, step-by-step system for turning your couch time into serious language progress. And the most surprising part? It does not require subtitles in the way you think it does. For most of human history, people learned languages by immersion. You moved to a country, you were surrounded by the language constantly, and your brain had no choice but to adapt. The brain is an extraordinarily efficient pattern recognition machine. When it encounters a foreign language often enough in meaningful contexts, it begins to map sounds to meanings, rhythms to emotions, and structure to logic. Television, at its core, is a simulation of that immersion environment. You have visual context, emotional cues, body language, facial expressions, and audio all working together at the same time. That combination is enormously powerful for language acquisition. The science behind this goes back to Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis from the 1980s, which proposed that humans acquire language best when they are exposed to input that is slightly above their current level of comprehension. He called this concept I+1. Television, particularly well-produced drama and comedy, naturally delivers this kind of input. The story gives you enough context to guess meaning. The visuals support the audio. And the emotional investment keeps your brain engaged, which is critical, because an engaged brain retains information at a dramatically higher rate than a passive one. A study published in the journal Language Learning found that Dutch children who grew up watching undubbed English language television showed significantly higher English proficiency than children in countries where foreign content was routinely dubbed. The Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden consistently produce populations with exceptional foreign language skills, and researchers have pointed directly to their television habits as one of the major contributing factors. This is not coincidental. This is evidence. But here's what nobody talks about. The type of content you choose matters enormously, and most language learners choose the wrong kind. People tend to reach for the most challenging, prestige content available, period dramas with archaic language, fast-paced political thrillers, or dense science fiction with invented vocabulary. These feel productive because they feel difficult. But difficulty without comprehension is just noise. Your brain cannot learn from sounds it cannot begin to interpret. The sweet spot is content you find genuinely entertaining, with clear audio, natural dialogue, and visual storytelling that supports comprehension. Sitcoms and slice-of-life dramas are actually among the best choices for intermediate learners. The language is everyday, the contexts are familiar, and the humor often reinforces meaning. Crime procedurals work well because the visual storytelling is highly supportive of the dialogue. Children's animation, despite feeling embarrassing to admit, is genuinely effective for beginners because the vocabulary is intentionally simple and the visual context is maximally clear. Now let us talk about the subtitle question, because this is where almost everyone gets confused. There are 3 subtitle modes, and each one serves a completely different purpose. The first is no subtitles at all. This forces your brain into pure listening mode and is appropriate for intermediate to advanced learners who can already follow about 60% or more of the spoken dialogue. The second is target language subtitles, meaning subtitles in the language you are learning. This is the most powerful mode for intermediate learners because it connects the spoken sound to the written word simultaneously, which reinforces both pronunciation and vocabulary in parallel. The third is native language subtitles, meaning subtitles in the language you already know. This is the least effective mode for language acquisition and should be used only when you genuinely need to follow a complex plot and cannot understand enough to continue. Most people start with native language subtitles and never move beyond them. They watch hundreds of hours of foreign language content reading their own language at the bottom of the screen, wondering why their listening comprehension never improves. It does not improve because the brain takes the path of least resistance. When your native language is available, your brain reads it instead of processing the foreign audio. You are essentially watching the show in your own language with foreign sounds playing in the background. This is not immersion. This is distraction. The system that actually works looks like this. You begin with a single episode of something you genuinely enjoy. You watch it first with target language subtitles, pausing when you encounter vocabulary you want to retain, noting it down or adding it to a flashcard app. You then watch the same episode again without any subtitles at all. This second viewing is transformative. Because you already know the story, your brain is freed from comprehension anxiety and can focus entirely on the sounds, rhythms, and patterns of the language. Researchers call this the known story technique, and studies show it significantly improves listening retention compared to single viewings of new content. Here is a specific data point worth remembering. A 2019 study from the University of Nottingham found that learners who rewatched previously seen content in a foreign language retained 30% more vocabulary than learners who watched new content each time. Novelty feels stimulating, but familiarity is where consolidation happens. Now, what about speaking? Television is a passive medium, and language production requires active engagement. So how do you bridge that gap? The technique is called shadowing, and it is used by professional simultaneous interpreters around the world. You play a short clip, 10 to 30 seconds, listen carefully, then pause and repeat exactly what you heard, attempting to match the rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of the speaker as closely as possible. You are not translating. You are mimicking. Your mouth, your jaw, your tongue are learning the physical movements required to produce the sounds of the language. This is motor learning, and it operates by entirely different neural pathways than vocabulary memorization. You do not need to shadow every scene of every episode. 3 to 5 minutes of focused shadowing per viewing session is enough to see measurable improvement in pronunciation and spoken fluency over time. Combine this with your subtitle-assisted viewing and your no-subtitle rewatching, and you have a complete system that covers listening comprehension, vocabulary acquisition, reading, and pronunciation simultaneously. Consistency is the variable that most learners underestimate. Watching 2 hours of foreign language television on a single weekend is significantly less effective than watching 20 minutes every single day. The brain consolidates language during sleep, and regular daily exposure ensures that the consolidation cycle is continuously activated. Daily exposure also means the language never fully leaves your working memory. It stays warm, accessible, ready to be built upon. Think about what this means practically. If you watch television for 2 hours per evening, substituting even 30 minutes of that time for foreign language content in your target language, using the system described here, you would accumulate over 180 hours of deliberate language exposure in a single year. That is not a trivial amount. Research consistently shows that 500 to 1,000 hours of quality input is sufficient to reach conversational fluency in a Category 1 language such as Spanish, French, Italian, or Portuguese. Television can deliver a meaningful portion of that entirely within what you already consider leisure time. The implications of this are significant for how you think about language learning as a whole. The old model told you that learning a language required sacrifice, discipline, textbooks, and classroom time. The updated model, supported by decades of acquisition research, tells you that consistent, pleasurable, context-rich input is more effective than forced, anxious, grammar-focused study. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Laying Bridge for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.